Jason McNew of Appalachian Technologies here, and this is Security Snark, where we discuss all the cybersecurity news that's worth discussing. And this week on Security Snark, coming from National Defense Magazine, Pentagon unveils CMMC 2.0 cybersecurity framework. Coming from Fox Business, supply chain under attack as dark cyber underground peddles sensitive company data. And we have a report coming from one of the units within Palo, Alto networks about a highly targeted attack campaign against several business verticals in the United States. That one's a pretty big deal. It's a great report. And lastly, coming from HackRead, Black Matter ransomware gang is reportedly quitting their operations, if you can believe that. So if you're not familiar, the CMMC, and this is coming from nationaldefensemagazine.org, the CMMC 2.0 has just been released by the Pentagon Department of Defense, and this supplants the CMMC 1.0. And this is a subject that's been near and dear to my heart for a couple of years. I originally started doing this work when it was just NIST 800-171. And I worked for the White House for a lot of years, spent a lot of times in SCIFs or in top secret environments, so I'm used to very, very rigid security. And the CMMC, or the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification, was a way to try and secure our defense industrial base. The defense industrial base in the United States consists of something like 300,000 companies. A lot of them are small companies, mom and pop shops. They could be 10, 20, 30 people, up to 100. It's this SMB space, the small to mid-sized business space, private businesses that the CMMC was designed to protect. Because what was happening is cybersecurity in the Department of Defense itself is very, very tight. But within the private sector, it depends on the individual businesses. And the United States, we have a very serious problem with our highly valuable technical intellectual property being exfiltrated by our strategic competitors who are copying our designs. They are flat out building copies of our stuff. And the way that they're getting this is that they are breaking into these defense contractors, primarily exfiltrating this information and then stealing this. So the CMMC 2.0 is out. The CMMC 1.0 was rigid. I was impressed with it. It expounded on NIST 800-171 and level 3, which most of the defense industrial base is, had some additional controls added to that. But according to Salzar, I don't know what his last name is for his first name, but it says here, CMMC 2.0 will dramatically strengthen the cybersecurity of the defense industrial base. Salzar said in a press release. By establishing a more collaborative relationship with industry, these updates will support businesses in adopting the practices they need to thwart cyber threats while minimizing barriers to compliance with DoD requirements. I don't agree with this. Based on my reading of 2.0, they weakened this. They made it much easier to comply with. They weakened the framework. They took away the certification and accreditation process, which in the DoD, the Department of Defense itself, the formal CNA certification and accreditation process, that's a very big deal. So they took the framework and they dramatically weakened it. And I think most cybersecurity practitioners, people like me who are highly trained, the level of training and education that I have is on par with probably a lawyer or something like that, are not going to be happy with this. They weakened the framework itself. They made it so that people can have so that contractors can have open items on their plan of action and milestones. And they weakened, they took away the formal certification and accreditation process. And then it doesn't make any mentions of advanced persistent threats here so far that I can see. And that was originally addressed by NIST 800-171B, which I had written a very lengthy white paper on year before last. And NIST 800-171B would have equated to levels 4 and 5 in the previous CMMC 1.0, and they were designed to keep advanced persistent threats out of, if you're making munitions and missile parts and that kind of stuff, things that were really a target. And when I read that framework, I was surprised with it because I thought a lot of it, NIST 800-171B and CMMC level 4 and 5 was kind of close to what we were doing in the classified realm on a secret network. And now I don't see anything like that here in the CMMC version 2.0. And in my opinion, they've weakened this, and I am not a fan, not happy with it. And next up comes this piece from Fox Business: supply chain under attack as dark cyber underground peddles sensitive company data. Now, the supply chains, modern day supply chains, stretch all over the creation. 100 years ago, anything that people bought and consumed was produced, most of it, the vast majority, was produced reasonably locally. I think most people know that that's no longer true, especially with everything that's made in a different hemisphere. And then a lot of things that we rely on for day-to-day life are not made anywhere near where we live, either within the town or the state or the coast or even the country for that matter. So the point is, as things come from consumer goods and services, consumer goods come from all over the creation, including our medications and things like that. And the logistics and the supply chains that make all this happen are hyper efficient, or they have been up until recently. And we have just-in-time supply chain delivery, and we don't warehouse a lot of stuff anywhere. And all of this is very, very complex, and it's also quite delicate. So when you buy something on Amazon and then it ships from Asia and then you have it in a week or whatever, there's a lot of pieces, moving pieces that happen there. And the supply chains are already under duress due to, COVID, right? We have problems, and then the problems with the ports in California and so on and so forth. There's already a bunch of problems with the supply chains. So now we're starting to see reports of infiltration of various logistics and shipping companies that are selling credentials that are used to access computers that belong to these companies that operate air, ground, and maritime cargo transport on several continents. This is all awfully coincidental, it seems to me, especially going into the holidays. Maybe I'm being a little tinfoil hatty here, but the supply chains are under enough duress as it is. We have issues with inflation, and now the supply chains themselves are under attack by these dark web actors, and they're doing this by accessing vulnerabilities such as remote desktop protocol, which should never ever be exposed to the internet anyway. VPN, virtual private networks, Citrix, SonicWall, and so on and so forth. So the supply chains are they're under attack. They're exfiltrating credentials. They're selling the credentials on the dark web. And according to this article by Fox Business, they view this as a precursor to attacks coming over the next 90 days or during the holiday season. So more supply chain issues. Very, very, very interesting. And next up, coming from something known as Unit 42 within Palo Alto Networks out of California. They manufacture switches, routers, network gear. And they do have a research arm. And this is a long and detailed report that came out on November 7th, just 2 days ago. And the title of the report reads, Target Attack Campaign Against Manage Engine, 80 Self-Service Engine Plus delivers Godzilla web shells, NG Light Trojan, and KD Sponge Stealer. So these are kind of off-the-shelf forms of malware that are installed. These Godzilla web shell, NG Light Trojan, KD Sponge Stealer. But the targeted attack against Manage Engine itself is interesting. Manage Engine is widely deployed. It's typically going to be an enterprise level product. Small businesses and consumers at large are not generally going to be familiar with this. But this is another example of an advanced persistent threat, APT. And these are real engineers, these malicious hackers. This is not the 400-pound fat guy sitting in his parents' basement or anything like that. That stereotype is complete baloney, by the way. These people are well educated, highly skilled. They know exactly what they're doing. But in any case, the executive summary of this report reads, on September 16, 2021, the U.S. Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, released an alert warning that APT actors were actively exploiting newly identified vulnerabilities in a self-service password management and single sign-on solution. So they're targeting SSO, known as Manage Engine and 80 Self-Service Plus. In any case, this is what's known as a tip of the spear type of attack. And hackers have stolen passwords from targeted organizations, and this is with the goal of maintaining long-term access to those networks. So once again, this is advanced persistent threat. The NSA and CISA declined to comment on the identity of the hackers, which is interesting. So at this point, we don't know who they are, and they are targeting evidently things that are related to national security. All this is very, very interesting. Report by Palo Alto Networks, some stuff coming from CISA. Last comes this piece from HackRead. Black Matter ransomware gang is reportedly quitting operation. And evidently they released, not a press release, but they made a statement on their website or on the dark web. And it says, due to certain unsolvable circumstances associated with pressure from the authorities, part of our team is no longer available after the latest news. The project is closed. After 48 hours, the entire infrastructure will be turned off. It is allowed to, and then they have some further explanations of what exactly their infrastructure can do. So this is a ransomware gang, and supposedly they're a rebrand of what was formerly known as DarkSide. And you have to laugh at this kind of thing. I don't really know what to think of it. But what's interesting about these ransomware gangs is a lot of them exist simply just to make money. Right? They might be software engineers that are based in the former Soviet bloc or, Eastern Europe or just wherever, right? There's not necessarily a robust market, and they start targeting Americans or Europeans or whomever with the goal of extracting money. And they have a reputation at times of being fairly good about protecting their business model, so to speak. And they've been known to work with their victims on helping to get their data back and stuff like that, provide email support. I've heard about phone calls. So you never know. I'm a little bit cynical about this one, but at the same time, they might be being sincere here. They are... business people first, a lot of them, and then hackers second. They exist to make money.